Hello, YouTube. Luigi here, looking pretty frazzled on a Friday night. It's been a long day. A couple of long meetings at the gallery today. It's snowing like hell here. It's Friday in November. I think it's the 10th. Yeah, I think that's right. I'm wearing my DNR medal. You know, I had a special order a chain for this. Most chains are 24 inches. This is going to be a diversion, okay? This is not what we're talking about. Most chains are 24 inches, and you clasp them. Well, I don't like clasping things. I want to just pull it over my head and pull it off my head. And 24 just didn't work for me because my head's so damn fat. So I had to special order a 26-inch chain from eBay, and now I'm proudly wearing my DNR medical tag. Okay, that's all there is to say about the tag. You know, I wanted to talk about a potentially divisive issue in our country right now, and that of immigration policy. And I say this because recently it has come to my attention some facts of near history that of which I was unaware, and have totally opened my eyes on this subject matter. You see, I'm old enough to remember a guy named Cesar Chavez. You millennials will never have heard of this guy, but Cesar Chavez was a union organizer of Mexican extraction, and he organized the United Farm Workers Union of what? Documented Mexicans who broke their backs in the hot sun picking tomatoes for us. Okay, he saw the exploitation among this group, organized them into a union. You know, we used to say way back in prep school, we used to wear his buttons, which I believe was a white stylized eagle on a purple background. And purple because he was boycotting grape picking in the wine areas of California. So we used to walk around saying, peace, love, don't buy grapes, don't eat lettuce, because he was organizing these great boycotts of labor. So out of nothing, out of nowhere, he creates a labor union. So what did this Mexican insist on all the rest of his life and work very passionately for all the rest of his life? A Democrat Mexican immigrant. He passionately believed in sealing our borders. Whoa! A Democrat? He passionately believed in sealing our borders. Why? He did not want the country overrun with undocumented labor that would work for pennies on the dollar and undercut his union's, the welfare of his own union's workforce. He worked hard to get these people a wage, you know, negotiating with management. And he succeeded, and he won the hearts of the country. So not only was this his position, but the entire Democratic Party, under the guise of, yes, of course, let's protect American unionized labor by closing the borders, keeping these undocumented out who will work for pennies, and protect the worker. That sounds exactly like a leftist position that they would take, because to this day, the unions largely endorse the left, and management largely endorses the right, because management and the right is interested in the management's ability to maximize its profits by what? Exploiting its labor force, paying them as little as they can, and denying them benefits, where the left wants to protect union labor. Okay? So it's so totally reversed then from what it is today. Now we have the Democrats who, they don't all feel this way, who appear to be saying, let's be compassionate, let's let everybody in. And we appear to have the Republicans saying, and they're not all, this is not a monolithic group, either of them by any means, no, 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 let's keep everybody out. You know, why did this change? Why did this historically strong Democratic position about sealing the borders to protect American labor, When did it change? And this is what I heard. And you can take it or leave it. I've seen a couple of documentaries on this. I believe these to be the facts of history. Okay, I believe these to be the indisputable facts of history. You know, those facts of history that the politically correct types do not like. They're constantly rewriting history because there's just stuff there they don't like. It's indelicate. It offends some people. Oh, poor things. Okay, this is what I've heard. At some point, the left realized that, hey, wait a minute. If we let them in and give them a path to citizenship, and they become a voting bloc, and we put as many of them that need it on welfare, they will never bite the hands that feed them by voting against the Democratic Party. Therefore, we can increase our political party by increasing the number of immigrants. Political power. Wow. So they abandoned their stance on let's protect the American labor to let's increase the political voting bloc and therefore the power of the Democratic Party. Now this, I was not aware of this, and it shocked me at first, but then, you know, political power makes for strange bedfellows. So then the right now gets on the side of, no, we got to close the borders. Did it all of a sudden have a love for protecting the American labor? No, the right never had that. They still want to see management prevail in all these. You know, it's about one more penny of dividend per stock share for the shareholders. You know, it's nothing to do with the labor force. The right just didn't suddenly develop a great love for organized labor. In fact, they've always been anti-union. In fact, if you look at one of the first things Ronald Reagan did when he became president, is he busted up the flight controllers union. You know? Well, that's another fact of history that we don't want to talk about. So, here we have it. The right didn't suddenly get a love for the protecting the American unionized labor. The right wanted to minimize the sudden increase in voting power for the Democrats. Now, take it or leave it. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that once the Democrats vehemently wanted to close the borders, and now they don't. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to tell you something about me politically. I do not conveniently fit into a pigeonhole. I don't. I have views that are surprisingly liberal. I have views that are surprisingly conservative. I'm not one of these robots who walks into a voting booth and pulls one lever and votes for a whole slate. To every extent that I can, I try to evaluate every race and every candidate individually on its own merits. I've been a registered independent voter for as long as I could vote, and at my age, that's forever. I have never espoused any political party. I maintain my independent thinking, and I'm not a robot who pulls one lever, okay? I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I have a video in my series, Tales of a Country Architect, that talks about this very thing. A psychologist wrote a book called Mindfulness versus Mindlessness. I'm just going to summarize it like this. The mindless person sees the world in terms of black or white. There's nothing in between. And therefore, it's all this or all that. The mindful person takes the time to carefully evaluate the variables unique to every situation before making a decision. He's not governed by hard black and white rules. That's all I want to say about that. I have a few comments on political correctness. If what I said was true as it was presented to me, if I accurately presented the facts of history relative to the political parties and their stance on migration, then that's a fact of history. Political correct types will, oh, no, you can't say that. I think there is no greater enemy to truth than so-called political correctness. Excuse me. The facts of history are the facts of history. Well, we'll just ignore that because someone might not like them and be offended. The facts are facts. Truth is, well, let's just ignore that because some poor delicate soul might be offended. Well, my God, we're drowning in a sea of embraced untruths under the blanket of political correctness, and I've never liked it. I've just never really liked it. Okay, seems I had one more topic to cover here, or maybe I don't. Okay, interesting perspectives on the history of the borders. Oh, yeah, I want to say one more thing about law. If civilization itself is built on law, then law becomes pretty important. Excuse me. If we have laws on the books that dictate the proper way, legal way to enter our country, then let's enforce those laws. If we don't enforce them equitably, if we don't enforce them at all, if we start flaunting one law, there's the potential to flaunt all law, and all civilization is therefore threatened. If the laws are unjust, for God's sake, let's change them. I don't like unjust laws. Let's change them. But civilization itself is threatened when we flaunt laws or don't enforce them equitably or don't enforce them at all. So I don't see anything so terrible about insisting that people come into the country legally. I just don't. I'm sorry for the political rest that you have to go through at home, and for the guerrillas and the cartels and everything else that makes life where you live so harsh. I really am. I really am. But and I understand how people look to this great land as the safe harbor. But I still don't think it's such a dreadful thing to insist that people come here legally. That's all. God bless you, everybody. Wow. The facts of history. And I was fascinated to learn how the left once insisted on sealing these borders. And now that's a rightist issue. All right, good night. I love you all. Take good care. Bye-bye.